It's not until Snake goes through the final door that we finally get some clarity. Coming face to face with Outer Heaven's commander, the man behind everything turns out to be none other than... Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Solo, and if you've ever popped into one of my streams, you'll know it's almost impossible for me to go 5 minutes without referencing Metal Gear. Is this another Metal Gear reference? Oh no. Major, my backpack's stuck in the tree. As a huge fan of the series, and as someone who's constantly poking their head around in the community, there's one question I see constantly. You know, besides the whole, oh, is Portable Ops and Revengeance canon? Which, by the way, they totally are. Fight me. I will die on this hill. It's usually along the lines of, hey, I just started playing my first Metal Gear. So like, what the fuck is going on? So I thought I'd make my own 5-hour-long video essay, going in depth and explaining the various Metal Gear complexities throughout the timeline. But I'm not ready for that just yet. So, this is hopefully going to be the first in a series of sporadically posted videos where I'll go over and explain just what happens in each game. Well, at least the ones that matter anyway. Oh, if that didn't break the ice, I don't know what will. You're gonna want to hold off on your hate comments until the video is over. We haven't even gotten to the part where I mentioned that I unironically like Metal Gear Survive.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy.
I'm splitting up this project, if you can call it that, into multiple parts for a couple reasons. First off, this is gonna take forever. This video was supposed to be released in February, and rewriting the script, editing it all together has taken a lot of time. So if I were to do it all now, this video would probably be out in like 5 years, and ain't nobody got time for that. Secondly, I think in order to actually understand what the games are about, you have to play them in order of release. Since the game's director, Hideo Kojima, pretty much wrote the next game's story right after the previous one was supposedly the last Metal Gear, going in order of release is going to be your best bet to know exactly what's happening. Whereas if you go in chronological order, you're going to be missing a couple things, which is why we're going to be starting at the first game in the series, Metal Gear. In order to properly start explaining what Metal Gear is about, we need to explain when Metal Gear takes place. Even saying that we're starting at the first one can already be confusing. So, if you don't already know, Metal Gear as a series is completely out of order. For example, Metal Gear, the game we're talking about today, is the first game to be released. Metal Gear Solid 3, the 5th game to be released, if you don't count Revenge of Snake, is technically the first game in the series since it takes place the earliest. Then it's Portable Ops, Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, MGS5, and then we jump back to the first Metal Gear. Are you still following me? Needless to say, it can get very confusing. So, to keep track of which game takes place when, here's this very basic timeline I put together, which tells you the year it was released at the top, the year it takes place at the bottom, and which Snake the game revolves around. Oh, and before you ask, yes, graphic design is my passion. I'll try and update it as we go further along into the series, okay? If you're ever confused, just refer back to these timelines and it should clear things right up. If you've never played or have played them out of order, this is the canonical timeline. So if you want to play them from beginning to end, this is how you would go about that. However, if you ask me, I would say either play MGS5 first or play them in order of release. You see, MGS5 is new enough that you can pick up the controls fairly easily, or, if you're a die-hard gamer, playing them in release order makes for a fun challenge that gets you that full Metal Gear experience. Shameless plug time. Check out the VOD channel, because this is exactly what I do during Metal Gear March. My annual playthrough of mostly every game in the series. So if you're interested, check that out. Okay, with the setup out of the way, we can finally talk about the terrible game that built a franchise. Metal Gear takes place in 1995 and follows Solid Snake, a member of Foxhound, as he infiltrates the military nation of Outer Heaven in an attempt to destroy Metal Gear, a nuclear-equipped walking battle tank. It was originally released by Konami for the MSX2 platform in 1987. If you're curious from what I've been able to find, MSX was an attempt to standardize computers, with MSX2 being an improvement to base MSX. So it gave the standard, for example, higher RAM, more colors, that kind of thing. Essentially, think of MSX being like the PlayStation 1, but a computer, with the MSX2 being like the PlayStation 2, only a computer, and made by a whole bunch of different companies. Okay, back to the video. The game was directed by this guy named Hideo Kojima, who was pretty much a new hire at the time, having only worked on a sequel to another game called Antarctic Adventure, creatively known as Penguin Adventure, and another game called Lost World, which was cancelled. World, in this case, being a mix between war and world. If Kojima was a YouTuber, people would flock to Penguin Adventure and be like, huh, and a legend was born. After this, Kojima was asked to take over development of this little-known game called Metal Gear. I don't know, maybe you've heard of it? Due to the MSX's hardware limitations, Kojima thought, what if instead of fighting the enemies, you avoid them instead? And thus, the rest was history, which is what we're gonna cover next. The manual. Remember when games used to come with manuals? Lets us know the premise of the game. To quote, in order to cope with local revolutions, regional complications, and terrorist activities, a special operations unit, Foxhound, was secretly created. The unit was used for political covert operations. In South Africa, there is a heavily armed country called Outer Heaven that has developed an ultimate weapon. In order to gather information about that weapon, a member of Foxhound, Gray Fox, was dispatched. However, upon encountering Metal Gear, all contact was lost. Now, orders are once again issued to Foxhound. These orders are to trace Gray Fox's disappearance and seek and destroy Metal Gear. The one to carry out these orders is the newly recruited Solid Snake. With only a transceiver in hand, Solid Snake sets out on his first mission. As Solid Snake infiltrates Outer Heaven, he gets a call from Big Boss. Operation Intrude N313. Infiltrate the enemy's base, Outer Heaven, and destroy the ultimate weapon, Metal Gear. Make contact with Gray Fox and find Metal Gear. Now on the mission, Solid Snake makes his way through Outer Heaven, with Big Boss occasionally calling him over the radio to give advice. Snake explores Outer Heaven, encountering trucks that he can go into to find items. First, finding Card 1, he makes his way towards the elevator, finding a pistol on the way. Going up the elevator and using Card 1 to enter a locked door, Snake encounters his first prisoner. I'm saved! Snake uses Card 1 to go into the next room, only to find it's filled with gas. Receiving a call from Big Boss. This is Big Boss. I forgot to tell you, you'll need a gas mask for the gas room. Schneider, the leader of the Resistance, should be able to tell you where to get a gas mask. Over. Snake, conveniently knowing Schneider's codec frequency, gives him a ring, and Schneider lets Snake know, hey, remember when you infiltrated? Take a right and it should be right there. Snake, making his first of many backtracks, eventually finds the gas mask and goes through the gas room. Snake eventually finds an electrified floor with a control panel he can get to. Ring ring, this is Big Boss. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, this guy, right, Schneider, leader of the Resistance, he can tell you where to get one. So Snake gives Schneider another call and he's like, oh yeah, you know that room a couple screens ago? It's like right there. Sure enough, it's there. After blowing up the control panel, Snake finds a prisoner who tells him about a person named Diane, also from the Resistance, who will give us some advice. Going through a couple doors, Snake meets his first mini-boss. 4 soldiers constantly going around in circles. There's no way Snake will get through this. Spoiler alert, Snake gets through this. Having found a suppressor and a grenade launcher, Snake continues going through Outer Heaven. Going up the elevator, Snake can't get past the wind. Ring ring. This is Big Boss. Find a bomb suit or something, lol. Over. As he looks into the camera and winks. Going down a floor in the elevator, Snake runs into a submachine gun and a prisoner who tells Snake, the only way to get to Gray Fox is to get caught. Snake immediately runs down the corridor and gets caught. Ring ring, this is Big Boss. Check the walls, over. Hearing that information, Snake downs a monster and starts punching the wall. And would you believe it? Gray Fox! Right on the other side. Gray Fox tells Snake to find Dr. Madnar, Metal Gear's creator, to see if he can tell us how to destroy Metal Gear. Escaping the cell, Snake meets the Shotmaker, TM. No one has ever escaped from here, he exclaims. Snake, running into a room, miraculously finds all his equipment, with a little something something thrown in there for good measure, and swiftly defeats the Shotmaker, TM. Finding himself in a maze, Snake blows up holes in the wall to find a bomb suit. Snake goes back up to the roof to find more guards patrolling the area, and a prisoner who tells him to find a parachute. Snake goes back down and runs into none other than MGK himself. Machine Gun Kid. Not the other one, who takes a couple missiles to the face. Finding a parachute, Snake goes back up, running past guards with jetpacks, only to find a Hind D? Using a grenade launcher to blow it up, Snake parachutes safely to the ground. Running past some dogs, Snake makes his way to Building 2, running into a literal tank. Snake, using his genius-level intellect, deduces the only way to blow up this tank is to put down mines, so that when it rolls over them, it'll blow up. And sure enough, that actually works. Approaching building 2, Snake overhears some guards talking about his infiltration and ring ring, this is Big Boss. Put on that enemy uniform you picked up and you should get through. Wait, what do you mean you don't have one? Guess you gotta backtrack, lol. Over. So Snake painfully runs all the way back to the maze. And was this wall always here? Finds a uniform only to go all the way back. Hey, welcome back. Go on in. After going on in, Snake finds a bulldozer in the hallway. Wow, these Outer Heaven guys must really be getting desperate. Snake just uses the grenade launcher again, and it blows up. Snake finds an elevator that only goes up. Okay. And gets onto the roof, where Snake runs through a horde of guards trying to prevent his passage, eventually finding the elevator that only goes down. Snake reaches the underground dungeon, a labyrinth filled with gas. Putting on the gas mask, Snake eventually reaches Dr. Madnar. Snake approaches the doctor, before Madnar exclaims, "Ha! You fell into my trap! The real Dr. Madnar is on the 2nd floor! Die, Foxhound!" Before Snake casually steps back and sees the imposter sink into the ground. Armed with this new information, Snake makes his way towards the elevator before running into the Fire Trooper, TM. Snake manages to find his fury, puts out his fire, and heads to the 2nd floor. Snake finds a prisoner who tells him about Jennifer, also from the Resistance, who will also help Snake. The thing is, she won't talk to Snake unless he's high class. So here's the thing, right? This game has a mechanic called the class meter, and the way this works is by rescuing prisoners throughout the game, you slowly add up on your class meter. So after X amount of prisoners saved, you eventually go up in class, which gives you more health, more storage for ammo and grenades and stuff, and except for this one encounter, it doesn't really matter. The main thing you have to worry about with the class meter is if you don't have a high enough class, Jennifer just won't answer, and you can only continue with the items that she can give you. And here's the second thing, right? Because your class directly correlates to the amount of C4 you can carry, if your class is low enough by the time you fight Metal Gear, you can't carry enough C4 to blow up Metal Gear, so you get soft locked at the end of the game. So you have to make sure you don't kill any prisoners, and you save all of them. Otherwise, you just can't finish the game. But yeah, good game, am I right? That's great game design. After asking for the real Dr. Madnar to stand up, he will refuse to help unless Snake helps his daughter Ellen. Cue the backtracking. After finding Ellen, she tells Snake, "Thank you. I'm Dr. Madnar's daughter. They're forcing my father to create Metal Gear. Please, hurry and help my father." After giving her thanks and promptly disappearing, Snake goes all the way back to Dr. Madnar. Madnar, now knowing that his daughter is safe, tells Snake the secret to destroying Metal Gear. There is only one way to destroy Metal Gear. Attach plastic explosives to the legs. The sequence is right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right. After that, I don't remember. The card that gets you out of building 2 is with Bloody Brad. He's vulnerable to attacks from a rocket launcher. Good luck. Shortly after finding another prisoner, he tells Snake to find a compass to cross the desert. Being a high-class 4-star guy now, Snake calls Jennifer, who prepares a rocket launcher for Snake. Using the rocket launcher, Snake blows up the Brads for their keycard, and calls Jennifer to open the door for the compass. Snake makes his way towards the desert, and prepares to cross it. After finding building 3, Snake, ring ring, this is Big Boss. I need you to get into the truck on the right. Over. Snake, being the good soldier who follows orders, continues onward. Ring ring, this is Big Boss. Go in the door on your left. But Snake blows up a hole in the wall and continues onward. Going down the elevator, Jennifer calls Snake to tell him about an oxygen tank. With the breathing apparatus in hand, Snake goes back to building 2 to reach a previously unreachable area and manages to avoid drowning. Finding yet another boss. This guy is the dastardly devious dirty duck. TM. Go ahead and shoot, he says. If you dare. Snake receives a panicked call from Jennifer. My brother is among the captives. Please, don't kill them. If anything happens to my brother, I won't help you anymore. Snake carefully and expertly dispatches Dirty Duck, TM, from this dynamic dilemma. Saving the prisoners, Jennifer's brother explains, when you make your escape, climb the ladder on your left. With the final keycard in hand, Snake makes his way towards Building 3's basement once more. Ring ring, this is Big Boss. Solid Snake. Abort the mission. Return immediately. This is an order. Turn off the game console at once. Over. Undeterred from this fourth wall breaking action, Snake presses forward, avoiding a final set of booby traps, gas, mines, and an unflinching floor of electricity, before coming face to face with the ultimate weapon, Metal Gear. Snake, remembering what Dr. Madnar had said, sets off clusters of C4 in rhythm to destroy Metal Gear. As Metal Gear blows up, suddenly, the intercom activates with a voice shouting, "Emergency! Emergency! The self-destruct sequence for Outer Heaven has initialized. All personnel are ordered to evacuate immediately." Hearing the message, Snake sprints for the door that just opened, only to find one final boss. The boss. It's not until Snake goes through the final door that we finally get some clarity. Coming face to face with Outer Heaven's commander, the man behind everything, turns out to be none other than Solid Snake. "I've been expecting you. I am the Supreme Commander of the Foxhound Unit, and the leader of Outer Heaven, Big Boss. I gave this mission to you, a rookie, thinking I could use you to fool the rest of the world. But you were too good. You went too far. Solid Snake, I'm not going down alone. I'm taking you with me. Prepare to die." As Snake and his former commander clash, alarms are reverberating throughout the base. As the timer inches down, Snake manages to take down Big Boss. After entering a door, several ladders are seen, but remembering Jennifer's brother, he chooses the ladder and hopes he was telling the truth. As Snake climbs the ladder, he finally reaches the top. He's home free and sprints away from the incoming explosion. This is Solid Snake. Metal Gear has been destroyed. Operation Intrude N313 was a success. No big deal. Job done. That's all. No big deal. I'm coming back now. Over. As Snake tunes his radio to a local station, he hears the aftermath. This is Radio KNK. We have a special news flash. Today, before sunrise, a large earthquake was recorded in the vicinity of Galsburg, South Africa, presenting the staff of Metal Gear as credits begin to roll. However, just when you thought it was all over, there's a voice. "Can you hear me? Solid Snake, I'm not dead. Someday, I'll get even with you. Someday, we will meet again." TLDR, Solid Snake, a member of Foxhound, is tasked to infiltrate Outer Heaven and make contact with Gray Fox, another member of Foxhound. As Solid Snake moves deeper into Outer Heaven, he gains info as to what's going on, before eventually getting captured and finding Gray Fox. Gray Fox tells Snake to destroy Metal Gear and to find Dr. Madnar. After finding Dr. Madnar, he tells Snake how to destroy Metal Gear. Snake, on the way to destroy Metal Gear, gets called by Big Boss, who gives him false info in hopes of getting Snake killed. As Snake ignores these calls and destroys Metal Gear, Big Boss appears to drop the bombshell and say he was behind everything all along. Big Boss tells Snake, as he was a rookie, he was never supposed to succeed, but Snake somehow managed to not only survive and destroy Metal Gear, but destroy all of Outer Heaven as well. But Big Boss is still out there. Okay, this is the part of the video where I would go over the retcons and kind of connect the dots between games. But since this is the first game, there's really nothing to go over. It's not until we get to the next game, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, that things really start to heat up. So instead, I'll just say this. I know it's unfair to look at an older game with a modern lens, but considering I have the option of playing this, or something like, oh, I don't know, Fortnite? In the modern age, it's kind of a tough sell. I wouldn't recommend playing this game, but I wouldn't not recommend playing this game. You know what I'm trying to say? Is it a bad game? If you read the title, you might have gotten that impression, but not necessarily. You see, while it's not bad per se, it does fall into the old game habit of, the game is too short, so let's make it super difficult. There are some parts of the game that will test your patience, and there are others where you're gonna be like, okay, what do I do now? If you want to get the full Metal Gear experience, then by all means, play this game, but just make sure you have a guide handy. There are certain items the game will not tell you about until you reach a point in the story where the game is like, oh, you can't progress unless you have this one specific item. Good luck finding it, which if you knew about beforehand, you can just grab while you were at an earlier part of the game. So you can totally play this game guide-free, but I'll tell you now, at the very least, it's gonna be super abstract, and at its very worst, just so frustrating. And don't even get me started on the controls, especially with the perfect inputs you're gonna have to hit to pull some of this off. In all honesty, you can probably skip the first 2 games and go straight into Metal Gear Solid if you're not really that dedicated, and because of all the retcons that game makes, you're probably better off for it. Nonetheless, the first Metal Gear is still a very important piece of gaming history. I mean, it practically pioneered, if not straight up invented, the stealth action genre. If at some point you have a couple hours to kill, this game might not be a bad choice. If you're still here, I just want to say thank you for watching up until now. This has been a super long video, and I very much appreciate that you're still watching. This is like the 7th time I've completely rewritten the script, so here's hoping it was worth it. Quick plug. I stream a variety of things on this channel, and on Twitch, and on Kick too, I guess. We'll see how long until it turns into the next mixer. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, why not subscribe, and hit that like button as well. Like I mentioned earlier, check out the VOD channel for all the previous streams, and also check out the other EinSam members. They've got some pretty good content too. That is, when they remember to upload. All links will be in the description. Thanks again. So originally, I had this really long, really corny, like cringy outro in the script, so instead of that, I'll just give you some of my own words. Metal Gear as a series is one of those things that's very important to me. You could go so far as to say that the only reason I am who I am is because I played these games. Specifically MGS4 and Peace Walker. You know, I look back very fondly on those times in my life. And honestly, the only reason I started and still make content is because of Metal Gear. Every year I kind of burn the candle at both ends, so to speak, and I end up disappearing in people's lives for a couple months or whatever. And around February, I always get the feeling of, oh yeah, that's right, Metal Gear March is coming up. I don't really feel like streaming, but, you know, I have to get ready. And that feeling comes from a mix of thinking that whatever I do is just gonna end up being bad anyways, so you know, why bother trying? And every year I start Metal Gear March, kind of anxious, not really knowing what's gonna happen. You know, wondering if streaming is even worth it. And every year at the end of Metal Gear March, I finish off the last stream thinking, wow, if I hadn't played these games on stream, if I let that feeling of hopelessness keep me from trying to do better, I wouldn't have met some amazing people just stopping by the stream to chat for a bit, to talk about why they love that particular game. And you know, it's funny, I'm not like this big creator or anything. You know, I barely have some 300 subscribers. But even so, everyone has to start somewhere. And I bring that up because this game pretty much encapsulates everything I just mentioned. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but, you know, the point still stands. Looking at Kojima now, you'd think that his games were always amazing, but when you go back, you can't help but think, wow, this is kind of terrible. But it's only by putting something out there and trying to improve on the ways you do things that eventually things start becoming somewhat good. I'm not trying to say that I'm Kojima or anything, but the point I'm making is that the only way to get better at something is to keep doing it. And if Kojima stopped after this game because he thought he could never make something better, well, we wouldn't be here, would we? Take care of yourselves, and thanks for watching.